Hello everyone, my name is Gregorio Rosario, PhD researcher from the Public Governance Institute at KU Leuven. This presentation is based on our research article identifying users' requirements of geographic information for disaster risk management in the Dominican Republic. In this short presentation, I'm going to share some insight on how and what need to be prepared beforehand from the user perspective to especially enable informed decision making for disaster risk management in the Dominican Republic. A whole research team was behind this presentation, namely Gregorio Rosario, Dr. Santiago Muñoz Tapia, Vladimir Guzman Javier, and Professor Yup Kronfurt. This is the outline of my presentation. In the few coming slides, at first I will briefly introduce the Dominican Republic context, our motivation, followed by our research objectives and research questions. Then I present the methodology and main resources. As conclusion of this presentation, we propose a set of user requirements of geographic information to meet the needs of disaster risk management activity in the context of the Dominican Republic. If you're not familiar with the Dominican Republic, I'll let you know that Dominican Republic is one of the biggest and more populated islands in the Caribbean region. It has a population of over 9 million people over a land area of 48,000 kilometers square. Tourism, construction, mining services are key components of the Dominican Republic economy. According to the World Bank, the Dominican Republic has been one of the biggest growing economies in Latin America and the Caribbean in the last 25 years. The Dominican Republic, like other small island states in the region, is highly exposed to disaster phenomena, including hurricane and earthquake. Due to this disaster phenomenon, the Dominican Republic lost over $1 billion US each year. With that context in mind, since 2002, the Dominican Republic has established a strong legal framework to promote and regulate the intervention and preparation in case of disaster occurrence, where the National System of Prevention, Mitigation and Response, the National Risk Management Plan, and the National Emergency Plan, along with the National Integrated Information System and the National Fund for Prevention, Mitigation and Response, are the main stakeholders in charge of the coordination and execution of disaster risk management activity in the Dominican Republic. Disaster phenomena lead to huge demands of geographic information and systems from different stakeholders that take part in the disaster risk reduction efforts. With this assumption in mind, there will be a need to enable new and updated information and services to meet the changing user requirements along the disaster risk management life cycle. In this way, a clear identification and description of these user requirements are necessary in view of being better prepared for future occurrence of natural phenomena. In this research, we aim to identify user requirements of geographic information and services for disaster risk management in the Dominican Republic. Therefore, we investigate who are the key users and what are the minimum requirements for disaster risk reduction in the Dominican Republic. Our methodology starts with a person-to-person semi-structured interview with senior professionals in the field of geomatics and disaster risk management. Based on the outcome of these interviews, we identify key users of geographic information and services in this context. Then we design a questionnaire with 30 questions to grasp user perspective on information technology, policy, standard, and human resources needs. The survey was launched online using an online form where 130 participants complete the survey. Most of them were professional and technicians from the field of geomatic and disaster risk management. Responses from the survey were codified and indexed according to different tasks they perform in the disaster risk management activities. At this point of our presentation, we see the results. Most participants were from the government and private sector. The academia and NGO participants were underrepresented. The participants were from a variety of professional backgrounds, while geomatic and geoscience professionals were the most common. A majority of participants define the organization as user and enablers of geographic information, with only 23% of participants define the organization as producer of geographic information. At this point, in terms of geographic information, census data, satellite imagery, and land use data set were ranked as the highest level of importance for disaster risk management. These information are mainly relevant at the 150,000 scale. For the academic and NGO, the spatial data is more relevant at the finer scale, mainly at 1 to 5,000 scale. Some features were more important in terms of geographic information, including update information, quality, and visual attractiveness were mentioned as the most important characteristic of geographic information for disaster risk management. Some difficulties were reported by participants for using geographic information, in which restriction on accessing data, personal and resourcing costs, lack of metadata were the most difficult challenges. From the user perspective, some general needs of geographic information were identified, while the most important include availability of high-quality core geographic information dataset and metadata, current disaster risk related data from the local perspective, followed by high reliable real-time data management, and establishing technical specifications for data collection and map design. Regarding technology utilization for disaster risk management, Google Earth field survey were the most common source of information for most of the stakeholders. Participants use email, web pages for sharing geographic information. More than half of the participants still use paper map for sharing information with customers, with the users. Only 23% of participants are using a spatial data infrastructure for sharing geographic information with other organizations. The most recommended technology for improving the sharing of geographic information were the mobile applications, satellite images, UAV, and spatial data infrastructure. When we talk about some challenges for sharing geographical data interoperability issues such as incomplete or inaccurate data, lack of metadata, and inappropriate temporal and spatial scale were mentioned as the most difficult challenge for taking advantage of geospatial technology for disaster risk management. And a significant number of participants also mentioned the lack of training as a main barrier for technology appropriation. From the use perspective, our survey revealed that development a national disaster-oriented SDI, training for technical staff and volunteers, and the acquisition of hardware and software were the most critical needs in order to take more advantage of technology and disaster risk management. Local factors like more community support and internet accessibility to local stakeholders were also identified. In terms of policy needs for geographic information, only about 40% of organizations have implemented policy to rule and promote the sharing of geographic information with the public and other organizations. Restrictions like restricted data license, confidentiality and intellectual property, and technical issues like software, lack of software and hardware were mentioned from this perspective as the strongest restriction while trying to share geographic information with others. From the policy and standard point of view, our survey revealed that establishment of a policy for sharing geographic information between the public and the citizens, along with the institutional arrangement of the agency involved in providing geographic information, especially with the private sector NGO, were the basic need from the policy point of view. The policy needs to promote more opportunity for training and development of technical communication. Also, the building of a culture of trust and collaboration for sharing geospatial information for disaster risk management were the most important needs from the user perspective. Human resources are crucial for disaster risk management, and the development of technical specification and tutorial seems to be the key tools to facilitate the technology adaptation for disaster risk management. According to our resource, more participation of the local governments, university, private sector, and research organizations are highly needed. The human resource needs our main focus on building a more effective communication among stakeholders, citizens using social network, and a culture of more collaboration among agencies in charge of providing information and services. Training and more community participation using virtual learning platform and social network were also highly necessary according to our survey participants. At this point, I'm going to talk about our conclusion. Based on our research article identifying user requirements of geographic information for disaster risk management in the Dominican Republic, this presentation will present a better understanding of functional and performance characteristics of geographic information technology, policy, standard, and human resources necessary to deliver a common operational picture of the territory for disaster risk management in the Dominican Republic. We also highlight the increased recognition of the value of citizen participation in adopting geographic information and technology, and the necessary of more institutional arrangement to facilitate collaboration between agencies in charge of disaster of delivering information and services for disaster risk management. As our main conclusion, we propose a set of 7 user requirements. At first, the establishment of a sound policy for sharing geographic information and services between public institutions and citizens, the implementation of a national disaster spatial data infrastructure. In this point, user requirement analysis for multi-disaster risk scenario with local stakeholders should be necessary to increase efficiency. Technical standard for disaster for real-time data collection and dissemination, and given the number of organizations using metadata to search and explore geographic information and services, the procedure for gathering and accessing metadata should be simplified. More training programs to increase the adaptation of technology and involvement of more local leaders in collecting and sharing relevant data from the field. Social network and virtual learning platform play a key role in achieving a closer community participation in collecting and sharing of geographical information for disaster risk management activities. For our future work, we will focus on the identification of user requirement geographic information and services to especially enable small and medium-sized enterprises for disaster risk management effort in the small island developing state context. At this point, we want to thank the funding and administrative support of the Ministry of Higher Education, Science, Technology, and the National Geological Survey of the Dominican Republic. We especially wish to thank the contribution of all participants of the survey and all important stakeholders of our research team, namely KLUVN, National Geological Survey, Dominican Society of Artificial Intelligence, and the Polytechnic University of Puerto Rico. This is my contact information. Thank you very much.